Josh is going to tell us all about himself. He is such an example. Thanks, Josh.
Alright, I believe today is Father's Day. Today's Father's Day. What I did, I put socks on. I love Mom. She's been my father pretty much most of my life. Alright, where do I start? I'm going to talk about a bit where I came from and just say the change that happened, a bit of a story of change and where it all started from. I'm initially from Benoni, moved out to Somerset West when I was a kid, and from there I was always a bit of a very persistent, tenacious little boy, like running around the house causing all kinds of trouble. My mother always had a handful with me, and one thing I do remember when I was young, when the trouble first started, was when I was in primary school. We went on a little outing to a police station. And as we were moving along the police station, I saw these cells and we were seeing that, and they were showing us all the weapons, the handcuffs and that. And I remember I always used to get these plastic handcuffs as a gift from your mom for your birthday. So I saw these real ones, so I was like, I want one of those. So I grabbed it, put it in the back of my pocket, and I went and I took it. I stole the cuffs from the police station. And I remember we were sitting in class in primary school, and I was looking out the window. I see my mom with handcuffs in her hand and two policemen behind her. And I was only 7 years old, if I remember correctly, and they called me out, and I honestly thought I was going to jail today. And little did I know, you can't go to jail when you're 7 years old. So as it carried on, I was always in the trouble. My mom used to give me a lot of hidings. At school, I was always in the office getting hidings. And in grade 2, I was sent to boarding school. And that didn't last much long. It took me 6 months and I was out of that boarding school. And I went to another school called Somerset West Primary. And there I had quite a big incident which sent me onwards, which led to much bigger things, where a boy took something of mine. And I walked across the road and I went home and I took a knife. And I went back to school and I tried to stab that kid which was trying to take something away from me. And from there on I went to the child court, and the child court sent me to Boys Town. Is it correct? I went there for about a week. After the first week, the primary school that you have to go to attend Boys Town, they told me after 3 days, we can't keep him anymore. He's just too wild. We can't have such kids in our school. It's not a good example. And Boys Town said, well, we have the same problems with him here in the home. He must leave. He must go. Please leave Boys Town. I think I was probably the only kid to ever be kicked out of Boys Town. And I think I was 9 years old when I reached Boys Town, and that year, we counted about 2 years ago, me and my mom went through my whole file. I went to 9 schools in grade 3. Total 9 schools, being expelled and sent to various institutions. I went to a school in East River, which was a reformatory school for high school kids. At the age of 9, I was around all these kids, influences of drugs. There was a lot of violence and fighting. So it was quite you become desensitized to that kind of thing, and that becomes the norm. That became the norm for me. And I was just always involved in fights. I was always destructive, and it continued. Eventually, the school in East River said, well, we can't keep you here too young. The stuff that's going on is not what you're supposed to be influenced by. And I went back to Boys Town, which lasted about 7 months again, and they asked me to leave. And then eventually they said they'll give me a crack at staying at home with my mom and try a normal school. So I went there and I went to a school called Loreto. And Loreto is where I met my friend Bunzi, and me and him, we didn't like each other in the beginning. It was more of an ego clash, and eventually we started hitting it off like a house on fire, and we became actual partners in crime. Wherever we went, it was just this: we got to destroy everything we can. We were always in fights. We used to alienate other kids, and that. And on my birthday, my 11th birthday, I got asked to leave from Loreto Primary for the 2nd time. And then I went to a school in Natal. This is what they call a school for the last cases. You have enough hope if you go to that school. And I was there. That school only allowed me to see my parents once every year or twice? Twice every year. They allowed to see my parents twice every year, which was difficult, especially at that age. I never had a father figure. Don't know who my father was. And I just continued, and it just carried on. Eventually in that school I started doing well in grade 7. I took every academic award that there was. I was the SA champion, the Natal champion, and the Coastal champion for wrestling. And everything started looking good. And when I came back to home, they rewarded me the rights to come stay at home, and high school started. And when high school started, everything just went back down. Got involved into more fights, and I got an assault charge against my name, and then eventually me and a friend decided to break into a house, which was the final nail in the coffin for me, where in and out of court the whole time for about 10 months. We were in and out of court, and that was just the real low of my life. I kind of remember that every day they tell you the court case is postponed, and then you kind of get a relief off your shoulders, and the night before you get so nervous you feel like you want to puke because you don't know where your future's headed at. Anyways, so eventually the court case did get thrown out of court, and I was really looking for something different in life. So eventually what happened was Miss Strapp came up to me. She was, God bless Miss Strapp, she was quite cool, because every time I was in the passage at the office, she would come past me and she says, "Come on Josh, come on, be positive. These teachers don't know, they don't see what I see in you, you can do it. Just go out there, prove them wrong, and the next day I'll be there again." Miss Strapp would walk past and say, "Come on, I know you can do better than this." You do that every day, every week, continuously. Eventually, the one day we were speaking, and she said that she has someone that wants to come do a program here, and she wanted to know if I wanted to earn a bit of extra money. So I said, "Yeah, let's have a look at it," and I met Leonie, and that afternoon she came to me and she was asking me a whole bunch of questions, asking me, "What are your dreams? What are the things you want out of life?" And I didn't have an answer for that. But nonetheless, we carried on continuing, and she said, "Well, I'm going to give you a book to read. You've got a month to read it, and then I'm going to ask you questions about it." And she was explaining that these books are just basically the successful things that people do to create a good future. And the first book she gave to me was this one. As you can see, it's almost falling apart. There is a loose page in there. I'm not going to open it, I'll fall out. But I also got a copy in my office on my desk. And that's the book I use still to today. After 4 years, that's the book I use. There's a program in it that has 10 different habits. And you've got to read that every day, 3 times a day for 30 days, and then move on to the next graph. And you can ask the people that say with me, "I haven't skipped a beat, I carry on." It's about creating new habits. They say the difference between successful people and people that don't get what they want in life is the habits. They say that bad habits are unlock door to failure, and good habits are the key to success. Alright? So basically, that helped me create an attitude where I tell myself every morning, I'll wake each morning with a vitality I've never known before. My vigor will increase, my enthusiasm will rise, and my desire to meet the world will overcome every fear once new. So basically, that's what the habits have created inside of me. And another favorite of my quotes from Og Mandino, a very simple book yet so complicated. He says that my purpose here is to become a mountain, not to shrink to a grain of sand. So henceforth I'll apply all my efforts to become the highest mountain of all, and I'll strain my potential until it cries for mercy. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.